none of the passengers or car savers who were in that ill-fated coach uh, supported the prosecution's story that these conspirators had barged into the coach, broke open that sliding door, and splashed petrol from those jerry cans. It was a very crowded coach. Nobody saw it, and nobody felt any petrol falling on them or anywhere in the coach. And when this point was made by the defense before the court, before the trial court, the judgment says, I mean, this is the way these judges behave. So much for the clean chits that our criminal justice system produces. The trial court judge said that it is not reasonable to expect these witnesses to remember to recognize the faces of these miscreants. Now the issue is not whether the witnesses are in a position to recognize these faces. The issue was whether such a dramatic action did take place, which was being suggested by the prosecution, that these people had broken open the coach and come in with these jerry cans and splash petrol. Now that was what was being debunked by the witnesses. They said, no, we never saw anything like this. These were witnesses produced by the prosecution. You must bear in mind, prosecution witnesses did not support this very important claim being made by the Gujarat police, and that was subsequently parroted by the SIT, despite the mandate of looking at the evidence afresh, independently, without being influenced by what the Gujarat police said. All that the SIT did was repeated to the last detail what the Gujarat police said in their original charge sheet. That's what the Supreme Court appointed SIT did, and that is how the judgment was finally delivered. And because of such lacunae, the one who was alleged to be the mastermind, Maulana Umarji, he was acquitted, and others, some 63 people out of 94 were acquitted. This is the background. Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to say a couple of things here, that the clean chit is not the last word. I think we should not mislead the public. Clean chit was by a police agency. SIT is nothing more or nothing less than a police agency, even though it might be appointed by the Supreme Court. And there was a dichotomy between the Supreme Court appointed SIT and the Supreme Court appointed amicus, who took a different view, even if it was a limited view. So I think to say that the clean chit is the final story actually is putting a full stop where there is actually a comma. So let's not mislead. The case is very much alive. We are playing into their hands if we actually play into the propaganda of a clean chit. The Zakia Jafri and Citizens for Justice and Peace case, which began on 8/6/2006 for filing of a criminal complaint against Narendra Modi and 63 others at that point. Now 3 have died, so it's 59 others. Proceeded first to attempt to be registered an FIR, did not happen. Then we went to the High Court. High Court refused to give directions. So we were not simply assisting Zakia Jafri, we were co-petitioners in that case. Then we went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court, which had already appointed an SIT 1 year before to further investigate the 8 major trials, including Godhra, Gulberg, Narula Patia, extended the purview of SIT to also look into the Zakia Jafri complaint with the proviso that the Gujarat government officers who are part of SIT should have nothing to do with the investigation. That process stands abused today because the SIT has today subletted the entire investigation to the crime branch of the Ahmedabad police. So therefore, by the time the final judgment was delivered by the Supreme Court, which remanded the matter back to the magistrate on 12th September 2011, Raghavan was nowhere in the picture. Malhotra abdicated and became Himanshu Shukla of the crime branch that actually filed the final report before the magistrate. Please understand that the documents and the police documents that we are talking about are part of a huge civil liberties struggle. Never in the history of this country has a complainant, survivor and a civil legal rights group managed to access 23,000 pages of police intelligence records that we have managed to do. And that has not been acknowledged even by civil society. That took us 1 year to get after the final judgment of the Supreme Court. It is because of the documents that we were able to file a 1,000-word protest petition, which showed, according to me, it's not, the story doesn't begin on 27th of February. Even saying that is a falsehood. The story begins 3 months before, because the communal build-up is taking place in Gujarat. which the SIB records in the Zakia Jafri case show from almost November, December 2001. And there are warnings that the Home Department is getting. And let's look at 2002 in the purview of what this country is facing today. The man who's Chief Minister is also Home Minister of the state. Is the country safe in the hands of a person who gets warnings from his own intelligence that there's a communal buildup? Do something. His intelligence officers are saying take action, and he refuses as Home Minister to take cognizance of those warnings. That is the implication that we are facing today. What happens after 27th of February 2002? Again, something that is hidden by the SIT is that Jayanti Ravi, who is the district magistrate, sends a fax to the Home Minister, who is also the Chief Minister, saying that there were provocative slogans by the Kar Sevaks at the Godhra station that led to the mob coming there. To answer your question, the mob doesn't emerge out of nowhere. The people in the train behave provocatively, abusively. Very provocative anti-Muslim slogans are shouted. Sophia, a girl at the station, is actually almost molested by tea vendors. She's standing there with her mother. All this is part of the railway police record. But this does not become part of the official narrative, because you want to forget about the provocation. You want to only talk about the aggression of the burning alive, so-called as a terrorist conspiracy. Modi gets the first intimation of Godhra at 9 o'clock. It is false to say that the telephone records have not been analyzed. The telephone records provided by Rahul Sharma have been analyzed extensively, first by Jan Sangharsh Manch Mukul Sinha and then by CJP. And they tell us that the first call that Modi makes after getting news of the Godhra incident is not to the DGP, is not to his Home Minister, not to the intelligence, but to Jaideep Patel of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Please understand the implications of the evidence that the Zakia Jafri case is much beyond Gulberg. Much beyond when he got to know about Gulberg. He calls up a Vishwa Hindu Parishad man, dispatches him to Godhra, and after that, Jaideep Patel, Ashok Bhatt, who is now dead, who was a co-accused, who was then law minister, before that he was health minister at the time, allow the post-mortems of 58 bodies to be conducted in the open while RSS and VHP mobs are getting enraged at the sight of charred bodies. Against the law, against the procedure, against ethical governance. We are hearing slogans of good governance. How can you conduct post-mortems of absolutely burnt bodies of women and children wide out in the open so that mobs get further inflamed and take that story to the rest of Gujarat? Then Modi arrives by 3:45 in the evening. He arrives there, goes straight to the railway yard where the bodies are displayed, talks to the RSS VHP workers, reassures them that he will give them complete freedom to do what they want. This is part of the telecasting operation. And not only that, he then takes a decision at the collectorate, which is his decision alone, to hand over the bodies of the unidentified Godhra victims to VHP General Secretary Jaideep Patel, not to an official person. And then we have police control room records tell us, which we collected in the Zakia Jafri case, that 3 a.m. in the morning when the cavalcade arrives from Godhra to Ahmedabad, a 3-hour journey by road, there are RSS mobs waiting at the Sola Civil Hospital. 3 o'clock in the morning, why would a mob be waiting? Unless it has already got orders and a desire to do something. Modi is in the assembly when the news of Godhra happens. Suresh Mehta, his own ministers today, testified to the SIT saying that when he got news of Godhra, that Jayanti Ravi's fax had come, he smiles and he says, Ave Janta Jagrut Thashe, which in Gujarati means now people will come alive. So there are several elements to the conspiracy that still remain. The matter is pending in the High Court. After that, 19 of Gujarat's 25 districts burn. The pattern is very similar. Chemical powder is used, mobs are brought in, and not only that, the Chief Minister's office and the Home Minister's office is responsible for destruction of crucial records. SIT is appointed by the Supreme Court on 26th of March 2008 to further investigate 8 major cases. On 31st of March 2008, crucial police control room records are destroyed. Instructions of the Home Minister. This is all part of our findings. All that was put before the magistrate, unfortunately ignored. Now it's before the High Court. So there are 2 levels we look at it. One is the legal battle, which may or may not come to conclusion whether conspiracy will ever be established. But I think it's critical in this case, which has to do with communal violence engendering